Okay folks, gather round because I'm about to share my ongoing saga with the villain known as Sinusitis. Picture this. I walk into a room, nose redder than Rudolph's, voice sounding like a rusty hinge, and armed with enough tissues to supply a small country. Oh, and let's not forget the soundtrack, a persistent, dry cough that could rival a chain smoker's. Inevitably, someone gives me that sympathetic look and says, "Oh, you poor thing, you've got a cold." If I had $1 for every time I've heard that, I could probably fund a research expedition to find the mythical land of clear sinuses. If you find it, please send coordinates. But here's the deal. Sinusitis is not a cold. It's a chronic condition that likes to mimic a cold, but trust me, it's a whole different ballgame. Sinusitis, the inside scoop. Imagine your sinuses, those air-filled spaces in your skull, as little caves. Now imagine those caves getting flooded with mucus because the drainage system has gone haywire. That's sinusitis in a nutshell. It's inflammation of the sinus linings, and it can cause a whole host of delightful symptoms like congestion that could rival rush hour traffic, facial pressure that makes you feel like your head is in a vice, headaches that could knock out a heavyweight champion, mucus that could double as wallpaper paste, and, of course, the grand finale, the dry cough that just won't quit. Now, this cough isn't your typical "I've got phlegm in my throat" cough. It's a dry, hacking cough that feels like you're trying to expel a feather stuck in your windpipe. It's the kind of cough that makes people stare at you with a mix of concern and suspicion, like you might be harboring the bubonic plague. Why the confusion? So why do people constantly mistake my sinusitis for a common cold? Well, I'll admit there's some overlap in the symptoms. But here's the crucial difference. A cold is like that annoying house guest who overstays their welcome for a week or two. Sinusitis, on the other hand, is like that relative who moves in and never leaves. It can be caused by allergies, infections, or even just the quirky architecture of my nasal passages. Thanks, genetics. The futility of cold remedies. And here's another important point. Treating sinusitis like a cold is about as effective as trying to catch a fish with a butterfly net. Why? Because there's no virus involved. So loading up on vitamin C, zinc, and chicken soup might make you feel better temporarily, but it won't address the root cause of the problem. Contagious? Nope. And let's clear up another misconception. Sinusitis is not contagious. You can't catch it from me, even if we share a plate of cookies. Although, with my congestion, I might accidentally launch a cookie your way with a sneeze. Fair warning. The saline rinse saga. Now, for a cautionary tale, in my quest to conquer sinusitis, I've tried every remedy under the sun. One of those was the infamous saline rinse. The idea is to flush out the sinuses, right? Sounds logical, but in my case, it was like trying to extinguish a fire with gasoline. The rinse sometimes sent the mucus on a detour down my throat and into my chest. The result? Laryngitis that made me sound like a frog with a sore throat. Not my finest moment. Prednisone, the big guns. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If it's not a cold, what do you do for sinusitis? Well, there's a whole arsenal of treatments out there, from nasal sprays to decongestants to allergy medications. And then there's the big gun prednisone. This powerful steroid can knock out inflammation like nobody's business, but it also comes with a laundry list of potential side effects that could make you wish you were just dealing with a simple cold. So prednisone is definitely a last resort, reserved for those times when my sinuses decide to wage an all-out war. And trust me, they can be formidable opponents. The surgery dilemma. Of course, there's always the option of surgery, but let's just say I'm not quite ready to go under the knife. Or, in this case, the endoscope. The success rates don't exactly inspire confidence, and the thought of needing another surgery down the road is less than appealing. Plus, there's always the risk of complications. And let's be honest, nobody wants to become a statistic in the preventable medical mistakes category. The polyp party in my nose. And let's not forget about the polyps. These delightful little growths are like unwelcome guests who set up camp in my nasal passages. When my sinusitis flares up, they seem to multiply like rabbits, especially on the right side. Sometimes they get so big that they try to make a break for freedom by poking out of my nostril. It's not exactly a glamorous look. Even when they're not inflamed, I can feel them up there, flapping around like tiny flags in a gentle breeze. It's a constant reminder that the party in my nose never really stops. A final thought on prayers and perspective. And finally, a word to those kind souls who offer to pray for my healing. I truly appreciate the thought, but I have to admit, I'm not losing sleep over my blindness or my sinusitis. Neither one is deadly or debilitating, and honestly, they're pretty low on the list of things that require divine intervention. Because I've had the right training, opportunity, and technology, my blindness is more of a nuisance than a tragedy. And my sinusitis? Well, when it's not acting up, most people don't even notice it. I've always believed that no matter how bad I think I have it, there's always someone out there facing far greater challenges. So, while I'm grateful for your prayers, I'd much rather see that positive energy directed towards those battling cancer, homelessness, or any of the countless other hardships life throws our way. Living and laughing with sinusitis. Chronic sinusitis can be a real drag, but I refuse to let it get me down. I've learned to manage it with a combination of treatments, prednisone only when absolutely necessary, a healthy dose of humor, and an endless supply of tissues. If you're struggling with sinusitis too, don't give up. Talk to your doctor, find what works for you, and remember to laugh along the way. After all, laughter is the best medicine, besides, actual medicine. Important note. Remember, these are my personal views and experiences with sinusitis. This article is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult with your doctor for diagnosis and treatment options.